a playlist, yeah. Yeah, so we'll throw Going Out of My Head in there at some point. And hey, do you know My One and Only Love?
The shadows fall and spread their mystic charms in the hush of night.
Oh gosh, what a song! That song is so deep. Hammerstein should have written that lyric.
You do it in constant E flat?
Yes, sir. I got a nice chart if you want it.
I think I have your chart.
Mm-hmm. I better follow the chart. I almost never do that song. It's so pretty, though. Hey, you have a computer. Must be paying you too much for these gigs.
This is 8 years old. I'm surprised it still works.
I have a laptop. It weighs about as much as this speaker does right here. It's about I should sell it to some of these looters. They could throw it right through like a plate glass window. This thing is literally it weighs like
E flat.
probably 12 pounds.
Normally in constant C.
And you're in all your splendor, my one and only love.
What else should we do? I'm not used to this planning ahead stuff. I don't want to overthink things. What else are you feeling, Clark? What are you feeling good about? What are you feeling good about, Clark? What are you feeling strong about? What's Yeah, like is there anything you're feeling really good about?
You mean like
I've done that
like every
before.
song?
Yeah, we've done that. What if we throw Georgia in the mix? You're in C. We're going to do it in F. So you just do it in C. It'll be cool.
Dreams I see
different Georgia, but that is Georgia. You're right though. There is a Georgia. Well, we got 12 songs in our set list. I was thinking don't get around, but then I was thinking we're doing A Train. I mean, not that you can't do both of them. So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Before we get started here, I just got a text. This one from little Jimmy Taylor of Kalamazoo, Michigan. Jimmy writes, Mountain Park never sent out a link for how to watch tonight's concert. Is there some way to watch it? Does anyone here know the answer to that question? Because live streaming doesn't do a lot of good if people can't watch it. So on behalf of Spencer, who's gone to the trouble of, oh, Greg just showed up. Yeah, we see what happens when he doesn't have to preach. He shows up 2 minutes till, right? Now we get it. He's on time. Okay. Okay. E minor. E minor, yes, sir. So she says there's nothing on their YouTube channel right now. Mm-hmm. Well, hi, Greg. Hey, you're on time. So there's only past uploaded sermons right now on the Mountain Park YouTube. I'm getting texts from people trying to... You got it? Okay, let me tell them. It's up. Try reloading the page. Well, good evening, friends. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to have some fun tonight. And, the three of us who I will introduce on my left, your right, Mr. Isaiah Langston on drums, being blocked right now by Clark, who's in his way. And to his left and your right, Mr. Clark Bondi on saxophone and clarinet and flute, kazoo, other things he's going to play tonight, spoons, all sorts of things. So, we get to play a lot of music together. The three of us have for years, but we don't often get to play Sinatra and Gershwin and Berlin and that sort of thing in a church building. So it's wonderful to get to share this sort of music in this setting and in a church. I was raised going to church. I don't know if you knew that. I was raised Lutheran. German Lutheran, as a matter of fact. And having that strong German heritage, I learned some things. For one thing, I learned that there's a special term for a pastor in a German church. Were you aware of that? They call them German shepherds. Look, it's a free concert, okay? It's a free concert, so you get what you get what you pay for. Like I said, we're going to have some fun tonight. We tend to not take things too seriously, and there's enough in life that's serious, right? Let's enjoy the gift of music and the gift of laughter and the gift of summertime. There was a fellow named Yakov Gershwin, born around 1899. He wound up changing his name to George Gershwin. And in his very short lifespan, less than 40 years, he gifted the world with some of the most amazing music that is with us to this very day. Songs like this one from 1935.
Summertime and the living is easy. Fish are jumping and the cotton is high. Your daddy's rich and your mama's good looking. Hush, little baby, don't you cry. Summertime and the living is easy. Fish are jumping and the cotton is high. Your daddy's rich and your mama's good looking. Hush, little baby, don't you cry. Spread your wings and you'll take to the sky. little baby. Don't you cry.
Thanks very much. Pardon me while I adjust my mix here a little bit through the miracle of modern technology where I can adjust things, and I just don't want to hear so much Clark, so I'm just going to turn him down right now. No, I want to hear more Isaiah, as a matter of fact. So dialing him up. Well, Summertime, written by Gershwin. You know, at one point in his illustrious career, Gershwin was regarded by musicians, composers, and music aficionados, both on this continent and in Europe, as arguably the greatest composer in the world. He wrote both his jazz pieces, his show pieces, or the equivalent of pop music today, his opera, his classical pieces were all held in high regard, and still to this day, pretty amazing. So we're going to go way down south to New Orleans. Clark even has the right instrument out for this. We're going to take you way down south. This is a song that was popular for Louis Armstrong, as pretty much all the New Orleans standards were at one point. But it was made even more popular by a group called the Mills Brothers. Does that name ring a bell with anybody, the Mills Brothers? Some of you are saying yes. So this is a fun tune called The Basin Street Blues.
Won't you come along with me down the Mississippi? I will take the boat to the land of dreams, steam down the river down to New Orleans. Bands there to meet us, old friends will greet us. I will see the place where the folks all meet. Heaven on earth, they call it Basin Street. Basin Street is the street where the elite, they always meet. Way down south in New Orleans, that's a land of dreams. You never know how nice it seems, or just how much it really means. Glad to be, yes sirree, where the welcome's free, so dear to me, where I can lose my Basin Street blues. Seems that just how much you really mean. Glad to be, yes sirree, where the welcome's free, so dear to me, where I can lose, baby, I can lose, mama, where I can lose, my Baba Basin Street blues.
very much. My, that Clark Bondi can play that clarinet, can he not? You know, I've done that song probably, 2, 3, 4, 500 times over the last 10 years, a lot of times. And I was performing it once at a concert down in Salem for a community down there, several hundred people there that night, and a big event they were having, and it was a fun concert playing with a wonderful trumpet player named Rick Homer. And after the show, a lady came up and she said, "That song you did about New Orleans, that was about Basin Street, right?" I said, "Yeah, the Basin Street Blues." She said, "Oh, my mom will never forget the Basin Street Blues." No, she said, "My mom will never forget Basin Street." And I said, "Oh, so is your mom from New Orleans, or did she visit?" She said, "Oh, we both did. We visited together. We went on a trip there together." And I said, "Well, then I have to ask, what was it that made Basin Street so special?" She said, "That's where Mama got her purse stolen." Yeah. You know, a lot of these songs can bring up some good memories, but in that instance, it brought up a memory she'd never forget Basin Street, though she would try. Well, for our next tune, how about we do my very favorite song, written in the 1930s. It was like this. Pennies in a stream, falling leaves, a sycamore, moonlight in Vermont. I see finger waves, ski trails on a mountainside, snow light in Vermont, telegraph cable, they sing down the highway, travel each bend in the road, people who meet in this romantic setting, they're so hypnotized by the lovely evening summer breeze, warbling of a meadow lark, moonlight in Vermont. Telegraph cables, how they sing down the highway, travel each bend in the road, people who meet in this romantic setting, they're so hypnotized by the lovely evening summer breeze, warbling of a meadow lark, moonlight in Vermont. You and I and moonlight in Vermont. Thanks very much. Well, that's my favorite, probably my favorite song of all the music of this era. And you know what's interesting about that song? Two things. One, the fellow that wrote it was from Ohio. And he went to Vermont for a trip, for a vacation. How many of us here have been to Vermont? Show of hands. Oh, most of us have been to Vermont. Well, the rest of you, you need to go. It's a beautiful place. And when we lived out on the East Coast years ago, we took an autumn vacation up to Vermont to see the fall foliage. And it was beautiful, but I have to say, being from this part of the country, I found myself saying, this looks a lot like Oregon, actually. But it is very beautiful, but I wouldn't say it has an upper hand on the beauty that God has put here. But so this gentleman from Ohio, his name was John Blackburn. So John Blackburn took a trip to Vermont and was so impressed by the beauty that he went back home to Ohio to write a song about it. And so he started out writing his lyric, pennies in a stream, falling leaves, a sycamore, moonlight in Vermont. And he was saying to his buddy who was listening to him, this is stupid, this is terrible. His buddy said, what do you mean? He said, listen to this song I'm trying to write. None of it rhymes. Pennies in a stream, falling leaves, a sycamore, moonlight in Vermont. He said, I'm trying to write about what I experienced in Vermont, but none of this rhymes. And his buddy said to him, I like it just the way it is. Just do me a favor, just keep going. Don't worry about trying to make it rhyme. 1930s pop music, it all rhymed. You know what I mean? There was no variation from that theme and that style. So he wrote the whole thing, and if you'll ever study it, it is a haiku. If you remember that form of poetry, you probably studied in grade school or high school or something, haiku. He wrote this song like a haiku, which is interesting, and of course it is beautiful. I think that's part of what gives it that uniqueness and why it is iconic, and it's played all over the world, except during COVID. It's played all over the world in clubs and restaurants and jazz venues all around the world. But the other thing that's interesting, it says, pennies in a stream, falling leaves, a sycamore, moonlight in Vermont. Truth be told, there are no sycamore trees in Vermont, just for the record. But there are a lot of sycamore trees in Ohio, and he was remembering those trees as sycamores. In fact, there are no sycamores there. Well, now you know the rest of the story. Well, we're going to get your toes a-tapping with this next Duke Ellington song. Duke Ellington, born 1898 in Washington, D.C. He was born Edward Kennedy Ellington. That's a very regal-sounding name, isn't it? That's a very important name. With a name like that, you got to grow up to do something big. And they said that when Duke Ellington was just a little kid, 3 or 4 years old, they noticed that he had such a sophisticated, not pompous, not an air, just a very grown-up way of talking with people. He would be walking down the street and just initiate a conversation with a grown adult, all on his own at age 3 or 4. And it was his aunt who said, well, would you look at that little Duke? He just thinks he's a Duke. That was at age 4, and the nickname stuck his whole life. Here's one of his biggest hits, tells you which train to take. 1, 2, 3, 4. You must take the A train to go to Sugar Hill way up in Holland. If you miss the A train, you'll find you miss the quickest way to Harlem. Hurry, get on board, it's coming. I just listen to those rails a-thrumming. On board, get on the A train. Soon you will be in Sugar Hill in Harlem. listen, get on, but it's coming. Just listen to those rails thrumming on board. Get on the A train. Soon you'll be jugging and hollering. Thank you very much. Getting on the A train. Well, from some vintage big band music like that, that's early 1940s Duke Ellington there. How about we go to the 1960s and throw something sort of pop at you? So this was a song that has become a standard, jazz standard, pop standard, and it's a fun song. It was first done in 1964 by Little Anthony, not Little Richard now, Little Anthony. I don't know if they were little cousins or what, but Little Anthony and the Imperials. And not a lot of people remember Little Anthony like people remember Little Richard, but you've actually played with Little Anthony, haven't you? Many times. And what is he now? 80 something. He's up there and he's still on the road. How is he? Is he good? He's good. Sings great. Wow. Amazing. So Little Anthony's still on the road. This was his song. You know, this was his hit. A lot of other singers did it. Sinatra did it. Vic Damone. A lot of people. But the Letterman. You guys remember the Letterman? Anybody remember the Letterman? They had a medley hit. They did this together with "Can't Take My Eyes Off of You." They had a top 10 Billboard 100 top hit in '67. So. Let's enjoy a little pop music. We'll give it a little bit of a Latin flavor, a little bossa here. Well, I think I'm going out of my head. Yes, I think I'm going out of my head. Over you, over you. You to want me, I need you so badly, I can't think of anything but you. And I think I'm going out of my head, 'cause I can't explain the tears that I shed over you, over you. I see you just walk past me, you don't even know that I exist. Going out of my head, over you, out of my head, over you, out of my head, day and night, night and day and night, wrong or right, I must think of a way into your heart. There's no reason why my being shy should keep us apart. Ooh, I want you to want me. I need you so badly, I can't think of anything but you. Going out of my head, over you, out of my head, over you, out of my head, day and night, night and day and night, wrong or right, and I think I'm going out of my head. Thanks so much. You know, one thing that I like to do that when I'm doing one of these shows, and I've done about 3,000 of them in the last 10 years, so I've done it a few times. I like to inflict my sense of humor on people because I figure they're a captive audience. It's my best. Well, I collect these jokes, don't I, Clark? Yes, you do. You love my jokes, don't you, Clark? So there's this guy named Jim, and Jim was lonely. Not that one. He said, well, no, I am going to tell that one. Because Jim was lonely. I mean, we've all known loneliness at some point in life. You know, and Jim was lonely, and he had heard that saying, dogs are man's best friend. You guys ever heard that saying, man's best friend, a dog? And he'd never had a dog, honestly, and he thought maybe that's kind of what's missing, you know, from my life. He lived in a smallish town back in Iowa, and he thought, well, this Saturday morning, I'm going to go down to Main Street. They didn't really have a downtown, but they had a Main Street. I'm going to go get me a dog. That's what I'm going to do. So he did. Saturday morning, he went down to Main Street, parked his car, is walking up to the pet shop. Out in front, this big sign says, talking dog for sale, inquire within. He thinks to himself, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Of all the stupid ploys to get people into the pet store, to say you have a talking dog. But he said, anyway, I want a dog anyway. So he goes in, and he goes up to the young guy running the pet store. He says, young man, do you realize you have a sign out there that says you got a talking dog for sale? He says, oh, yes, I do, sir. And he's right over there. He's that German Shepherd in the corner. The guy looks over. There's a German Shepherd just sitting there. He says, are you serious? He goes, why don't you just go up and introduce yourself and just start talking to him? Well, the guy thinks, okay, I'll bite. I'll try. Okay, so he walks over and he says, hi there, dog. My name's Jim. Tell me about yourself. And the dog starts talking. The dog opens his mouth and says, it's good to meet you, Jim. Thanks for introducing yourself. I'd love to. You know, as a young pup, I grew up here in the States, and I trained for the military. I'm a very patriotic dog, like a lot of us are. He said, I feel very strongly about our country, so I actually served 2 tours of duty in Afghanistan. And I was honorably discharged, and after that, I was thinking, what do I want to do now with my life? You know, I'd always wanted to see Europe. So I went to Europe, and I served as a rescue dog in the Alps. I was in Austria, actually. I saved skiers and climbers and hikers. But after a couple of years of that, I found myself just homesick for the good old US of A. And so I came back, and here I am. I'm really looking forward to the next season of my life. Now, Jim is blown away by this whole deal. He walks over to the young guy running the pet store. He says, young man, I have just one question for you. Why in the world would you sell a dog like that? And the young guy says, because that dog's a liar. He's never done any of that stuff. Better than usual. Hey, let's do Summer Wind. Well, let's stay mid-1960s for this next tune. But you know, if you're going to do an hour of music that really focuses, at least in part, on swing-era stuff, you got to do some Sinatra. You know that, right? I mean, the chairman of the board, Blue Eyes, Frankie. So we're going to do one of my favorite Sinatra songs. It's not as popular as another one that we'll do later in the show. It might be new to some of you, but boy, it's a great song. It was called Der Sommerwind. It was written in German. Would you like to hear me sing some German? No, you wouldn't like to hear me sing German. It's terrible. My German is awful. I get letters from the German embassy asking me not to do it anymore. So I'm going to sing this in English. Oh, I like that flute. Mr. Sinatra did this in '66. The summer wind came blowing in across the sea, lingered there to touch your hair and walk with me. All summer long we sang a song as we strolled the golden sand. 2 sweethearts and the summer wind. Like painted kites, those days and nights went flying by. The world was new beneath a blue umbrella sky. Then softer than a piper man, one day it called to you. I lost
too, lost you to the summer wind. Ah, the autumn wind, those winter winds, they've come and gone. Still the days, those lonely days, they go on and on. And guess who sighs his lullabies through nights that never end? My fickle friend, it's the summer wind. And guess who sighs his lullabies through nights that never end? My fickle friend, it's the summer wind. Warm summer wind. Ah, the summer wind.
Thanks very much. 1966, Mr. Sinatra. That's a mighty big saxophone you have there, Clark.
It is, just for show.
Just for show. Ronco. Yeah. Yeah. If it's sitting there, you know, people want to tell us about that saxophone, Clark.
This was given to me by a good friend of mine who told me that the best thing you can do in show business is leave them wanting more. So don't actually learn how to play this one, just put it on the stage.
There you go.
They're smiling underneath their masks.
So it's a Barry. That is a big baritone sax, and we need to use that puppy. What are we going to use it on? Maybe Georgia? Well, maybe. Oh. We're going to throw something country at you right here.
Trailer for sale or rent, rooms to let 50 cents. No phone, no pool, no pets. I ain't got no cigarettes, but 2 hours of a pushing broom buys an 8x12 4-bedroom. I'm a man of means, by no means king of the road. Third boxcar midnight train, destination Bangor, Maine. Old worn-out suit and shoes. I don't pay no union dues. I smoke old stogies. I have fun, short but not too big. Man of means, by no means king of the road. Every engine, every train, all of the children and all of the neighbors, every handout in every town, every lock that ain't locked when no one's around. Trailer for sale or rent. Rooms to let if distance. No phone, no pool, no pets. I'm fresh out of cigarettes. 2 hours of a pushing buys and 8 for 12 for the man of me by no means. King of the road, king of the road, king of the road.
Thanks very much. So honestly, how many of you would say you enjoy a little country music? How many of you? Oh, look at that. Most of you. The rest of you endured country music. How's that? You just endured a few minutes, but it wasn't that bad, was it? I have found that pretty much everybody enjoys at least a little country if you play the right song for them, you know. I was playing a party once, this big anniversary party. It was a very, very black tie sort of event some years ago, and a lot of dancing going on, big dance floor, and a very, a very highbrow, a very well-to-do clientele there. This one gentleman came up and he requested a certain song I'd never heard before. It was a waltz. And I said, as I'm playing, and I said, well, I don't know that one, but I had a trio with me. I don't know that one, but how about if you'd like to dance a waltz, why don't I do the Tennessee waltz? How many of you know the Tennessee waltz? Okay, almost all of you. And he looked at me and said, yes, then we can see if we have any hillbillies in the room. And he walked away with his little nose in the air. He sort of shuffled off, and I thought, well, la-dee-da, Mr. Go have some caviar, my friend. And so the next tune, we did Tennessee Waltz, and you have never seen a dance. If you want to fill a dance floor, I bet Bob and Nancy would attest to this. If you want to fill a dance floor, just start playing the Tennessee Waltz. People love to dance that tune right there. Well, we're going to do a different sort of dance. You might want to watch Bob and Nancy on this rather than watching up front. You watching from home via the miracle of modern technology, you won't be able to see, but there's an actual live couple dancing in the back of the room. And this one is going to be fun because it's a cha-cha. Maybe some of the rest of you want to dance a cha-cha. Any of you just woke up this morning like, well, come on up. Bob and Nancy, come on down. You're the next contestants on Dancing with Your Spouse. So we're gonna throw a cha-cha at them, and the year was 1958, and this song migrated up from Brazil, and this was a big hit for a fellow named Dino Paul Crocetti, but we remember him as. Good job, Dean Martin. Very good, Kate. I knew Kate would know that. So this is a great song. Michael Bublé also recorded this one maybe 15 years or so. It's a fun song called Sway. When marimba rhythms start to play, dance with me, make me sway. Like a lazy ocean hugs the shore, hold me close. Sway me more, like a flower bending in the breeze. Bend with me, sway with ease. When you dance, you have a way with me. Stay with me, sway with me. Other dancers may be on the floor, dear, but my eyes will see only you. Only you have the magic technique. When we sway, I go weak. I can hear the sounds of violins long before it begins. Make me thrill as only you know how. Sway me smooth, sway me now.
the dancers may be on the floor, dear, but my eyes will see only you. Only you have the magic technique. When we swear I go weak, I can hear the sounds of violins long before it begins. Make me feel as only you know how. Sway me smooth, sway me now. Make me feel as only you know how. Sway me smooth and sway me now.
Let's give it up for Bob and Nancy. And for Clark and Isaiah. Man, you guys sound good. Really good. I might start paying you guys for gigs if you guys keep playing like this. You know, seriously, it is such a joy to get to play music with your own son. I think about that. God didn't have to give my son rhythm. And from the time Isaiah was literally a year and a half, he was playing drums. He would set things out around him, you know, on the floor and would play them. And I realized he's playing to the beat of the music. He could keep a perfect time when he was 18 months. He'd go to the restaurant and he would grab everyone's, before he can talk, a little bitty kid, grabbing everyone's water glasses and grabbing the straws, the plastic straws, and playing drums on the water glasses to, you know, you had a sense this kid was going to be musical. And boy, was he ever. It's such a joy to get to play with my son. And it's such a joy to get to play with Clark because, you know, I've played with a lot of great musicians, different places. When I lived down in Houston, I got to play with really, literally national class, like first chair, session player, quality musicians, Nashville quality guys that have played with everybody. Big names, you recognize all the names. I got to play with a sax player named Kirk Whalum. Kirk Whalem's one of the best known sax players in the whole world, and he was awesome and a wonderful person too, a great man, but a great player. Honest to God, I would put Clark up with anybody that I've ever played with. Clark is really that good. He really is. He's that good, and he laughs at my jokes. And that's something those other guys wouldn't do. So, yeah. Well, later next month. What month is this? Later next month, I will have been married 33 years to the same woman. And 33 years, and you're looking at me, you're saying, how old is he? It's true. I got married when I was 5, and thank you. But, you know, I was very mature for a 5-year-old. I was more like 15 or so, really, I think. Actually, I got married at age 18, but maturity-wise, maybe closer to 5 at the time. But that's all right, because I married an older woman. I was 18. She was 19, and so she was a lot more experienced, and people said, what are you doing, you crazy kids? And yeah, we were crazy kids, but we dated for 3 years, and I was a teenager. I knew everything, you know, being a teenage male, and so we had our pastor's blessing on it, and both families' blessings are like, you know, okay, you have our support, so they went with it. And you know, the God is so gracious. He's been so wonderful to us. 33 years later, I can honestly say that Michelle and I love each other more now than ever before, really, truly. And it isn't because we've had an easy life or no problems, because all of us know, any of us that have been around very long, you know, just keep living. Storms are going to hit, aren't they? It's sooner or later, it's going to happen. But knowing the love of Jesus, not having religion, because neither one of us are real religious people, but being friends with Jesus and loving his word, having his word like an anchor through storms, you know what I mean? Where it's real. It's so real. It's so personal. And seeing all the things he's brought us through, to be able to say after 33 years, man, our marriage is better than ever. Wow, that's a real gift from God. And so I want to sing her a love song. She's watching from home tonight on the live stream. And so I'm going to sing her my very favorite love song right here. E flat.
The very thought of you makes my heart sing like an April breeze on the wings of spring. appear in all your splendor. My one and only love. The shadows fall and spread their mystic charms in the hush of night while you're in my arms. I feel your lips so warm and tender. My one and only love. The touch of your hand is like heaven, a heaven that I've never known. The blush on your cheek whenever I speak tells me you are my own. You fill my eager heart with such desire. Every kiss you give sets my soul on fire. I give myself in sweet surrender. My one and only love. My one and only love.
Thanks very much. Well, for our next tune, let's get your toes a-tapping. And let's, Clark says that I have a bad habit of starting songs without having told him what we're going to do, what song we're about to do. And I tell him it's good for him as a musician. It's stretching, to have to just jump right into a song. So, what? So here we go again. Hey, something you can really cook on, man. How about Don't Mean a Thing? Duke. In G minor.
Don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. Do-a, 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 do-a. Don't mean a thing. All you got to do is sing. Do-a, 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 do-a. It's no difference if it's sweet or hot. Give the rhythm everything you've got. Don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. Do-a, baby-da, do-a, baby-da, do-a, baby-da, do-a, baby now. Do
Thanks very much. Well, I'm going to go to a song by my favorite composer. If I had to choose just one composer, I think Mr. Howard Hoagland Carmichael would be my favorite. We remember him as Hoagie Carmichael, born and bred in America's heartland. He was a Midwestern boy, no formal music training whatsoever, wanted to be a musician, a songwriter, and his family tried to dissuade him from it. And he went on to study law, to do something sensible, study law. And it looked like he was going to be a very mediocre lawyer. He failed his attempt to pass the bar. So he went to Florida, where at the time, I guess they had an easier test down in Florida, just passed by the skin of his teeth, and moved back home to Indiana. He just kept hearing melodies in his head, and he thought, I just have to give this a shot. I have to give it a try. I don't want to spend my whole life thinking, what if I had gone for it in music? And so he went for it, which is a terrible idea statistically. You know, it's a fraction of 1% is going to have any sort of success. And he went there right at the start of the Depression. He went into showbiz. Perfect, right? What could be better? And it wound up working fabulously for him. And he wrote a song called Stardust, which was a huge hit, and then many others. So here's a song he wrote in 1930. It was somewhat successful in 1930, but not nearly so like it was 3 decades later in 1960 and 61 when a fellow named Ray Charles got a hold of this song. Now, you guys don't know my background a lot. I went to grade school in a very inner city, very multicultural, multi-ethnic school. And growing up, my best friend was black. We never thought anything of it. He never called me his white friend. I never called him my black friend. We were just friends, you know what I mean? But best friends for years. Lannis Warfield was his name. And so for me, that was normal. I got saved in a church with a black senior pastor when I was 16 years old. And my whole life, many of my best friends, today probably 10 of my 20 best friends are black. And here again, it's irrelevant. I have ministered in churches where I looked around and realized, hey, I'm the only white cat here. It never dawned on me. And I don't think it dawned on them. I mean, I'm sure I looked a little different. Of course I did when I came in the room. But you know what? In the body of Christ, there is no division. Amen? There's no Jew and Greek. There's no black and white. There's no male or female. I mean, the ground is level at the cross. Amen? I know I'm not here to preach tonight, but these things are on my heart strongly. Strongly. I bet they're on some of your hearts strongly because of what we see happening in America. And it's so sad to me as I've talked with so many of my friends who are black in different parts of the country and asked them for their perspective. How do you feel about what's going on? It's interesting that to a person, every single one of them is sad about what's happening here in Portland, about what we see happening downtown. Every one of them, both those that live here in Portland and my friends that live other places, every one of them says what's going on downtown in Portland is not advancing any sort of equality. It's not advancing the cause of the black community. It's not helping us. It's hurting us. It is not a benefit. It's not about really lifting one another up. You know what I mean? They say it's been hijacked by looters, rioters, Marxists, fascists, Antifas, whatever you want to call them. They have different names. It's been hijacked. It's a very sad thing because I think to build friendships with people different than ourselves, different cultures, different nations, different background, is one of the most beautiful expressions of the love of Jesus, because you know the world typically doesn't do that. Let's be people that do that. Amen? Let's be people that intentionally reach out across our neighborhood or across into a different part of the city or whatever that means. Let's be someone who's intentional about reaching out with the love of Christ to those that know Jesus, to those that don't know Jesus. Reach them all with God's love. Be a blessing in their life. Be a friend to them. And just see what God will do with that. Amen? That's the only answer for the race issues. It's people building friendships with other people. Amen? Apart from relationships, it's not going to get any better. Well, I'm done. I'm going to sing this song. Georgia,
Georgia, the whole day through. Just an old sweet song keeps Georgia on my mind. Georgia on my mind. Georgia, sweet Georgia, a song of you comes as sweet and clear as moonlight, moonlight through the pine. Other arms, they reach out to me. Other eyes smile tenderly. Still in peaceful dreams I see the road leads back to you. Georgia, sweet Georgia, no peace do I find, just this old sweet song keeps the Georgia, Georgia on my mind. They reach out to me. Other eyes, they smile tenderly. Still in peaceful dreams I see the road leads back to you. Oh, Georgia, sweet, sweet Georgia, no peace do I find. Just this old sweet song keeps Georgia on my mind. Just this old sweet song keeps Georgia on my mind.
Good job, boys. Thanks so much. Well, this evening we're going to wrap it up with a couple of songs. We're going to go with a really big Sinatra hit followed by a really big Nat Cole hit, because I think that's a great way to end a show, as a matter of fact. It's a great way to end anything, except maybe a church service. Maybe not the best way to end a church service, but Mr. Sinatra, born in 1915, and he started having hits in, late 30s. He was a very young guy, and he was singing for one of the Dorsey brothers, Tommy Dorsey, I think it was. He was the lead singer for the big band. And did you know that Frank Sinatra started out as a piano player? Did you know that? Now you do, see? I'm full of useless information. And Sinatra used to accompany himself on piano And that he didn't have to do that very long because the singing thing worked out pretty darn good for him. And he had pop hits starting in the late 30s, top 40 hits. And his last top 40 hit was in the year 1980. That's a big span of time, friends. I mean, that's like 45 years of making it on the Billboard Top 40. That's pretty incredible. In fact, unprecedented, especially with the number of hits that he had. So here was his last hit. It was the summer of 1980. Liza Minnelli originally sang this song in 77. But Sinatra made it really famous. Start spreading the news. I'm leaving today. I want to be a part of it. New York, New York. These little town blues, they're melting away. I'll walk around the heart of it. New York, New York. I want to wake up in that city that doesn't sleep. To find I'm king of the hill, top of the heap. These little town blues, they're melting away. I'll make a brand new start of it in old New York. If I can make it there, I'll make it anywhere. It's up to you, New York, New York. Well, let's hear some sax. These little town blues, they're melting away. I make a brand new start of it in old New York. If I can make it there, I'll make it anywhere. It's up to you, New York, New York. Let's take it out. In old New York, I wanna wake up in that city that just won't sleep. To find I'm king of the hill, top of the list, a number one, king of the hill. These little town blues, they're melting away. I'm gonna make a brand new start of it in old New York. If I can make it there, I'll make it anywhere. It's up to you, New York, New York. Thanks so much. Sinatra's last hit, 1980, New York, New York. And it wouldn't be right for me to close the show without telling one more joke. Would it, Clark?
No, gotta tell one more at least.
So, you remember the recession that we hit, the Great Recession, they called it back, 10 years ago or so now, 12 years ago or so, we hit that Great Recession. Jobs were hard to find. There was a guy, lived in the Midwest, actually. Most of these jokes come from the Midwest, incidentally. This guy lived in Kansas, I believe it was, and, he got laid off for his job. So he thought, well, I'm going to just go get a different job. And he applied for one job after another. Every job, he had a local newspaper, and he was on the internet. Everything he could think of, tried to get a job. Nothing. No success getting a job. I mean, he was applying for anything. Nobody would hire him. He thought one night he's laying there in bed. He can't sleep. He says, is there anywhere in town? Because it was a kind of small town. Is there anywhere in town I haven't applied for a job? He thought, the zoo. I've not applied for a job at the zoo. Well, I'm gonna try it. The next day, it was Friday morning. He went to the zoo. The zoo opened at 10 o'clock. He was there at 9:30, knocking on the door to get into the zoo. And a lady came. She said, sir, you're going to have to wait till 10 o'clock. The animals will see you at 10 a.m. You have to wait. He said, ma'am, no, I'm not here to see the animals. I'm here to apply for a job. She said, oh, sir, I understand. I'm sorry. He said, ma'am, no, you don't understand. I've applied everywhere. I cannot get a job. I'll do anything. I mean, I'll scoop up behind your animals for you. I'm not proud. I'll do anything. She said, sir, I'm so sorry, but really there are no... Wait a minute. We just had an opening. This might be your lucky day. She said, oh, he said, ma'am, I need a good break. Trust me, I need a good break. She said, well, it's an odd job. He said, ma'am, I'll do anything. Like I said. She said, well, if you're willing to do anything, you look like about the right height. He said, excuse me, the right height? She said, no, I think you'll do fine. Show up Monday morning at 9 a.m. right here to the same door, and we'll get you started in your training. He said, okay, thank you, ma'am. He went home, the happiest guy in town. Monday morning came. He was there at 9 o'clock sharp, a little bit early, dressed in a good suit and everything, and he's there, and she opens the door, and he walks in, and they take him into an office, and they said, well, you see, our beloved gorilla, 18 years, our gorilla, KK, he died. I mean, he was an older gorilla when we got him, and he died. And he said, well, I'm very sorry to hear that. I'm very sorry to hear that. She said, yes. So, well, we're a small zoo, and you don't just go to the pet store and buy a gorilla. He said, I guess you don't. I've never thought of it before, but no, I guess you don't. She said, well, we're on a waiting list to get another gorilla. He said, oh, I understand probably you'd have to wait a long time. She said, it's going to be about 6 months. He said, okay. She said, you look like about the right size for this suit. And she pulls out a gorilla suit. And she said, we need you to wear this suit and to be because the show must go on. As we say in the zoo business, the show must go on. That's the biggest saying in the zoo business. He said, well, you want me to be a gorilla? She said, yeah. If you don't want to. He said, oh, no, ma'am. I said I would do any job. I'll give it my best shot. I've never been one before. I don't know that I'll make a good gorilla. She said, I think you'll do just fine. We have some videos for you to watch. There's a curriculum. You're going to just look at, how to eat bananas, how to pound your chest, how to climb trees. That's a big one. How to scamper through the tall grass and different things. How to scare kids. You're going to have to run up to the glass and beat on the glass and scare people. He said, well, I'm going to give it my best shot, ma'am. So he studies for about 3 days of intensive studying in this office. She said, what do you think? He says, I'm willing to give it a try. She said, you're going to do great. I know you are. And the next day was his first day live. He was out there in the zoo, in the gorilla area. Fortunately, there was only one gorilla, so he had the area to himself. It went the lions in those cages, and then the gorillas here, and then some rhinos over in that next area. But he had the gorilla part to himself. And it was a little rusty at first, but as he got used to the role, he found himself really enjoying it. I mean, he was sort of an entertainer, and he got to make people happy, and he would run up to the glass and pound on the glass and scare the kids away from it. He would eat a banana and look very serious, and very, very dominant, like a good male gorilla should, that very serious look they have. And he would climb up tree. He got really good at climbing up those trees and standing on this one branch and pounding his chest. And he was thinking to himself, it's the strangest job I've ever had, but I like it. Somehow I kind of feel like a gorilla. He was pounding, making gorilla noises. And he got a little too confident. He fell off the branch. But rather than landing all the way down, he hit the top of that dividing wall between the gorillas and the lions, and he flipped into the lion section. And he thinks, he lands with a thud. He thinks, did I break anything? No, I think I'm okay. Just knocked the wind out of him. He just lays there for a second. Thinks, okay, I'm alive. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to get out of this. This is going to be fine. And he looks up, and there are gorillas over on the there are lions over on the other far side of this area, maybe 50 feet over, like 3 lions. He thinks to himself, I'm a dead man. I'm a dead gorilla. I am dead. Those are real lions. And so he just starts yelling, help, get me out of here. I'm not a real gorilla. Help, help. And as soon as he starts yelling, the lions who had been ignoring him, one of them makes a beeline for him, runs right over to him, gets right up on top of him, puts those big front paws on his chest, looks him in the eyes and says, if you don't shut up, we're both going to lose our jobs. Here's some Nat Cole. If you have a plan to go west, travel my way, take the highway that's best. I get your kiss on Route 66, and it winds from Chicago to LA, more than 2,000 miles all the way. I get your kiss on Route 66. Now you go through St. Louis, Joplin, Missouri, Oklahoma City, looking mighty pretty. See Amarillo, Gallup, New Mexico, Flakes of Arizona, don't forget Winona, Kingman, Pasto, San Bernardino, too. Get hip to my timely tip. Next time you make that California trip, get your kicks on Route 66. Get your kick on Route 66. Get your kick on Route 66. Thanks very much. Hey, let's give it up for Isaiah Langston tonight. Didn't he do an awesome job? And for our friend Clark Bondi. Thank you guys for coming out tonight. I hope you had as much fun as we did sharing the music with you. So God bless you, and we will see you real soon. Thanks for being out here. I appreciate you coming.
Failing just miserably.
Yeah. It's not something everybody can do.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, you're actually really good at it.
Yeah, my left hand. That's why I played the keyboard instead of the piano. The piano's
so
beautiful, but having the upright bass sound for this just gives it more of a trio feel. Thanks for being here, Phil. Thanks for coming.